Palmetto and Pine Golf Company. It's based entirely around highlighting golf here in the Carolinas. In the last year, I've been to over 50 different golf courses to not just only highlight the golf courses, but learn about the people that truly make the Carolinas special. Welcome to Pine Talk. Welcome back to Pine Talk. My name is Ryan. I'm the owner of Palmetto and Pine Golf Company, a brand where I go around the Carolinas and highlight the golf here just because I believe that the Carolinas have some of the best golf. And as I've done this brand, I started an interview series where I can talk to people about their careers and some of their experiences here in the Carolinas. So today I'm here with Leslie Cloots. She is the Director of Instruction at Finley Golf Club here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So Leslie, we'll jump right into this. Talk to me about, I guess, how you got into golf.
I got into golf when I was about 10 years old. Actually, I'll backtrack. My first golf ball I ever hit was when I was about 8. We were on a family vacation in Portugal at some resort type place, and every day they had a kids club. So it basically 2 hours, some activity, and one of the days happened to be golf. So my dad signed me up right away. Turned out I was the only one that showed up to this thing, so I basically had a private session for 2 hours, and that was my first golf experience. The instructor didn't speak English, so it was all, show and monkey see, monkey do, but it all worked out. Yeah.
That's super. And so I guess it's important to mention that you're born and raised in Belgium.
Yes.
Talk to me, what is golf like in Belgium? Is golf a big sport there?
Not really. It's mainly, soccer, men's soccer, cycling. Those are 2 big ones. Field hockey is getting up there as well, for sure. And then some obscure sports, depending on if we have an athlete that does it extremely well. Like women's tennis will get, that was big when I was growing up because we had 2 really good ones. And then we had judo, one really good one. And then, I don't know, whatever comes up on the news. We're a small country, so if someone does well, that's a big deal. But golf is... It's getting better, with COVID everywhere. It's definitely getting more popular. But Belgium is about the size of Maryland surface-wise, and we have about almost 100 golf courses. So not sure if that's a lot or not, but those are the numbers.
Okay, that's super interesting. And what about what is Belgium like in terms of terrain and stuff? Is it very hilly? Is it flat? What's the golf there like?
Yeah, so we got a mix of everything. We got a little bit of coast, so we have a couple links courses, and then if you go more north towards the middle, it's very flat. And then if you go a little more east, you actually have a little more sand ground, so kind of like Pinehurst. Not quite like it at all, but at least that same flatness and tree line. And then if you go south, it can get real hilly. So we got a little bit of everything, but definitely not like the pines over here. Yeah.
And so talk to me about how did you, when was the first time you came to the United States? Was it how did you end up getting recruited to come to play golf at UNC Chapel Hill? How did that happen?
Yeah, so from kind of the first experience on vacation and 2 years later, my dad signed me up to join the home club nearby, 10 minutes from our house that he was already a member at before when he was younger. And my mom and I started playing together. We started taking lessons together, actually. So it was a family activity for a little while until I'm like, Dad, why are you giving me, all these tips and I hit it better than you? What are you talking about? So that didn't last very long. But we would go to the golf course every weekend. And we actually had club tournaments on the weekend where you can improve your handicap. It was actually a very good system. You don't really have that here, maybe at some private clubs, but definitely not at public courses. So still kind of navigating that way of the differences between that, my experience and how it works over here. But yeah, I basically never stopped. I didn't really play any other sports growing up. Maybe if I grew up in the States, I totally would have. But just the culture is a lot different, and golf just happened to be it. And I started playing some regional tournaments, got picked up by the national team, started going to national squat trainings and starting to play in some international tournaments. And yeah, next thing you know, you're 17 and getting recruited, trying to come to the States to play college golf. And yeah, couldn't be happier that it ended up being UNC.
And how, like, was there other schools you were looking at? Did you have to travel around the U.S. a bunch, like, making that decision?
Yeah. So luckily, I played well my junior year summer, so that made things a lot easier. Because if you place high in some tournaments, you kind of have your pickings versus if you're kind of in the middle of the pack, you have to do a lot more outreach. So that was pretty fortunate that timing kind of happened good. But yeah, I had to make a short list of my top 3 schools because over fall break, me and my dad were planning to come for a visit, and we only really had time to visit 3 schools. So I ended up picking Oklahoma State, Boulder, Colorado, and then UNC Chapel Hill. Yeah.
Wow, that's a diverse group of schools.
Yeah, looking back, it was actually a really good sampler, I guess, of American colleges.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what made you pick UNC?
It was pretty much a no-brainer. I really wanted to study business, and at that time, undergraduate business school and a women's golf team were both top 10 at a time. So even just on paper, that was a no-brainer. And then I came here, I was like, this is exactly what I thought American college was going to be like. Small campus, like everything is right there, walkable. That's what I thought was weird about, especially Oklahoma State. They have to like drive to different classes. I'm like, that's not what I had in mind. I don't know. And then Colorado, the golf course was like 40 minutes away and it was snowing while we were visiting. So that wasn't quite ideal either. But I mean, both places are obviously really nice. But UNC just really fit the things I was really looking for academically and athletically. Yeah.
And so, like, by the time you're in college, like, did you, obviously you're going to school and you're getting a degree. Did you have any other plans or did you at that time think golf is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah, I definitely had the thought or the mindset, like I have 4 years and I got to be ready for tour. Like that was my mindset. Was that good or not? I don't know. I was definitely more serious, I would say, even though, I enjoyed college life as well. But I was definitely there with a goal, you know what I mean? Hopefully get my business degree and be ready to play full time. So yeah, the business school, actually, I had to apply 2 times. I got denied the first time. That took me a little while to get around, but I reapplied, got in again. So that was good. All good. Go Keenan Flyway. All good. Yeah.
Okay. So next, I mean, before jumping into your pro career, how did your college career end up?
My freshman year, I really struggled. I was very close with my junior coach back home in Belgium, and just the long distance thing wasn't really working out as well as we thought. So I was really struggling just technically, especially with my swing. The courses are longer here than what I was used to, so I was hitting a lot of long irons and hybrids into greens that just made it tougher in general, to score. But yeah, then I ended up finding a local instructor to help me out here as well. And then, the next 3 years was really good. I ended up, can't remember what my stroke average exactly was. You would have to look that up. But it was pretty good for the next 3 years, leading the team all 3 years. So, and then my senior year, I actually played Q school in that fall. So I played Q school a little early. So I made that decision to go play Q school junior year summer. Yeah. I think a lot of people, perhaps people watching, don't really know that that's an option. Yeah.
And what made you decide to do that?
Well, I had a friend who was going to Q school and she was graduating and she told me, why aren't you going to Q school? I'm like, that's actually a great question. So yeah, I called my dad. I'm like, hey, what do you think? He's like, I've been waiting on you asking me that. I'm like, okay, guess we'll go then. Yeah.
And so going to QC, like, do you have to forfeit your amateur status at that
No,
point?
so you can play first and second stage as an amateur. I actually think you might be able to play third stage as well as an amateur. Not quite sure about that. They change the rules all the time on that. So you could play on the Epson tour now as an amateur. You could do that. But yeah, back then it was just third stage that you had to turn pro to play third stage. But you could play first two stages as an amateur to get Epson Tour status, which was the goal. So then by the time I graduated in May, I could play that summer on the Epson Tour versus waiting a season to then play the next year. Yeah.
So how do you think, like playing Q school, I mean, before your senior year, how do you think that helped or hurt your senior year? Did you feel more confident, or what did that do for you?
I don't think it had any influence on my senior year necessarily. Looking back, would I have taken a little more time between graduating and then transitioning to playing full time and kind of starting your professional career? Maybe that would have been a good idea. But you know what? Like I made it through the first Q school I played. Like I had status right away, so I don't know. It could have worked out either way. Could have worked out either way.
Okay, so now talk to me about your professional career. From what I read, it looked like you spent some years on the Epson Tour, made a start on the LPGA. Are you still playing professionally? Are you still competing or anything?
Yeah, I still compete. So I played on Epson for about like 6 years. COVID was in between that as well. Yeah, one LPGA start, got there on a Monday Q. I still like to play. I still like to practice. Obviously, I'm teaching now, which I really enjoy as well. But I still like to play and grind on my own game. I'll play in like the PGA sectional events. Like this year, I got Women's Player of the Year, so I guess that's a good thing. So yeah, I still really enjoy to compete, and I also think it really helps my teaching. I feel like the best way you learn is by doing, and not necessarily like doing and giving lessons, but doing the thing that you're teaching yourself. So kind of having that mindset. I always want to be competing in some capacity while I'm teaching. For me, that's just kind of a requirement. But yeah,
makes sense. And so, talk to me. What was the experience of playing on the Epson Tour like?
Well, nothing you can really compare it to. It's kind of a traveling circus.
Yeah.
I wish I had a lot more good things to say about it, but everybody there really tries their best. The staff tries their best with their limited resources. But yeah, it's kind of like a sisterhood, but at the same time, everybody's competitive. So that can get some, interesting dynamics going on, especially with girls. I heard on the guys, it's a lot more chill, but
interesting.
Yeah, but you kind of make your own friends. I think one thing I've learned is from college, having teammates, or even like prior to that Belgian national team, I always had teammates, and then out there, all of a sudden you're by yourself. So that was probably the biggest transition. And I'm an only child, so I'm pretty used to like being by myself. But at the same time, like part of what I enjoy about golf is that social element and kind of having teammates. So I kind of really missed that while I was out there. But then you end up finding your own little teammates. Even though you're competing with each other, you kind of find there's a couple people, that they'll come get you out of the ditch if you're stranded in the middle of the road in Kansas somewhere. They'll turn around and come get you, So, yeah.
So during that time, like, did you have a mentor or anybody you looked up to?
Yeah. Yeah, a few older players. I mean, I guess my first tournament right after graduation, packed up college house here, everything in my little car, and drove up to Albany, New York for my first event, and staying with a host family. And I get to the golf course, and putting greens right there. And I saw Catherine O'Donnell, who also played at UNC, but we didn't overlap any years. I was a little bit younger. But she saw me coming, so she stopped what she was doing with her drill or whatever. She walked over, and immediately she's like, "Hey, is this your first event?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And she was real nice, like, "Oh, the range is there. You got to check in there first, make sure you register, because otherwise you get fined, get your yardage book, blah, blah, blah. This is how practice rounds work." She basically just laid the land for me, and that was really great. So just people like that, not that we hanged out every week, but I knew I could always, call her if I needed to. So Yeah. And then, you know, I've had numerous instructors throughout my playing career as well. But yeah, the main factor out there is other players that you can lean on. Yeah.
Makes sense. And so you made one start on the LPGA tour, Monday qualified in. Talk to me about that experience. I mean, it is kind of like, I find that fascinating about golf, to be able, you essentially have like a pre-tournament to make a tournament, and then to show up and end up missing the cut by one. Like, what was that entire experience like?
Yeah, so showed up for the Monday. My thought that year was Olympic year. I'm just going to go a Hail Mary. Who knows? I'm from a small country, so it's not that really far out of reach, or, you know, La La Land. But if I was representing America, that would be a total different story. But yeah, so I played a bunch of Monday qualifiers, or as many as I could. I think I ended up playing like 6 of them or something like that. But yeah, this one was in San Francisco the week after the U.S. Open, which was at Olympic Club across the street. So we're at Lake Merced. So I knew that week was a better chance, because those players that played the U.S. Open probably would take that one off if they're going to take something off. So I guess the field was a little, you know, weaker, so to speak, or the girls that would normally play in the Monday, maybe they would have actually gotten in the tournament already. So anyways, that would have been a good one to get into. And yeah, I had my caddy, Rick, who knew the course. Is great. Rick the nerd. Thank you. He's great. And yeah, ended up shooting. I didn't even shoot that low. I didn't even think I was going to make it, but I think I shot 1 over or so. And it's a tough course. The rough gets real high. Fairway's pretty narrow and long, so you got to hit it good. And yeah, ended up making it. Was awesome. Yeah, it was great. I was so pumped about that. That Monday qualifier and getting in and getting to play in that tournament really set my year. Like, it was like, finally, I was like, man, I'm finally getting some steam, like just spinning my wheels on the Epson tour. And you just know that's not where you want to be. So to be able to experience finally, like, okay, this is where I want to be. That was very motivating. Yeah.
Yeah. And so actually, before this, I came across your podcast, the Birdie-cast.
Birdie-cast.
And so I specifically went and found that episode where you had talked about that experience, because I was very curious to hear what your thoughts and what you had said at that time. And hearing like your experience with the caddy, I thought that was neat. And then you mentioned something, because you said he was always very like even-headed. And you said that you're an emotional player. What does that mean to be an emotional player?
Well, I guess everybody is an emotional player to some point, but I can get pretty upset. I don't necessarily go too high, but sometimes I kind of go to downward spiral, and that really accentuated as soon as I turned pro. That was like the biggest difference. For some reason, I haven't been able to, like in college, I think my senior year, there's a stat out there where the last round I played in the college tournament, I would like plummet. I would like shoot 5 under and jump 50 spots or whatever it is. But in my professional career, I haven't been able to jump the leaderboard in the last round. I've been like barely able to keep my position. So that's an interesting thing that I haven't quite figured out. But I'm sure it's something, you know, up there. Probably something to do with like the money psychology and all of that. But yeah, I guess that's what I meant with that.
Yeah, that's super fast. Yes, when you go from playing amateur, obviously you're playing for the achievement, really, whereas pro, there is a money aspect. So did you ever end up seeing like a mental coach or anything? Was that something you tried to do?
Yeah, I've tried a few. Kind of hit and miss, you know, kind of have to find that right person. I don't know. I'll still try. If I meet someone new and I'm like, sure, I'll give it a try, see what your approach is. Everybody's a little bit different, just like swing instructors or just golf coaches in general. Everybody's got their own style, their own approach. Even if it didn't work with one person, that doesn't mean that it wouldn't work with the next one. You just kind of have to keep trying and finding the right thing for you. And it might be like little things that you combine. Yeah.
Interesting. And with your coaching, is that something that you've implemented? Do you kind of talk to your players about the mental side?
Yeah. It depends, with my competitive players for sure. For sure. We'll like talk after the round. I think that's important. That's something that I wish I had more access to. Just to be able to reflect in kind of a structured setting versus just steamrolling, Yeah, just helping them process. It's nothing groundbreaking. There's no secret or anything like that, but just being able to process and take away from the experience you just had and get the most out of reflecting on it. Like, that's really where it's at. Yeah, because you can just play tournaments and tournaments and tournaments and not reflect and not learn anything. Yeah.
And so in that same podcast, I really wanted to bring this up because I thought this was incredibly fascinating. In that podcast, you guys talked about a 15-year-old who had showed up to the tournament and I guess was trying to be a caddy for someone for that event.
Yeah, right.
and then you had in the podcast you mentioned that your caddy then kind of like gave the kid some tips.
Yeah.
Like that's such a unique, crazy thing to happen.
Yeah, just a local guy. It was during COVID as well, so there was a lot more requirements going on. What's up, Riley? You want to be in it? Hey, why don't you talk? You're a much better talker than I am. Hey guys, this is Riley, senior.
Mike, talk to me. What's your name?
Riley Quartermain. Go Heels.
Senior on the UNC women's golf team. She should be traveling, but she isn't, so we're going to be talking about that later.
I'm positive.
And see you later. What were we talking about? The boy.
The 15-year-old caddy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was during COVID, so there were a lot of requirements, but he was vaccinated and all that stuff, so like he ticked the boxes. Yeah, he got tested, like he was good to go. And at a time that was hard to find a caddy that like on a crunch time had all the check boxes. So he had a real chance, but yeah. I guess the girl took a chance on him, but yeah, we trained him up real good.
That's just incredible. That kid's a go-getter. I want to know where he's at. I want to know if he became a caddy, if he's still
I think he lived on the course, if I remember correctly, and he was a junior member at the course, so he obviously like knew what's going on at the golf course. Yeah.
So I want to talk about your coaching. On your website, you mentioned 2 core values of learning and community. Can you kind of talk to me about what those mean to you?
You actually read that?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. That's like pretty far down there. Yeah. And those are the 2 things that I felt like now that I'm teaching, I've come to realize that when I'm watching somebody practice for 5 hours, I feel like energized after the fact, which is really weird. But the thought of me practicing 5 hours, I already want to lay down. Like, that's kind of the point where I'm at now. Was it always like that? I'm not sure. But, and it's really because of those 2 things. And the community part is something I really enjoy, especially at a place like Finley, which I have already been here, playing collegiately myself. So I've been around this club for a long time now, at least in my young life. Sound old now. So I really enjoy that aspect, not only the university folks, being able to bring in more family of staff members, students, athletic staff, you name it, but also just the local community of Chapel Hill and the Triangle in general, which I think is really, really cool, and being able to connect people through everybody trying to improve their golf game, which I think is really cool, that they all have a common goal, but be able to connect on other aspects as well, potentially. So, and the learning part is just something I was reflecting on of like, okay, why do I like playing golf, right? And I always enjoyed taking lessons since I was little. Like, that was like the best part of it. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see my coach next week. Like I can't wait to work on my putting, because last week worked on my chipping, and like man, that was like mind blowing, you know, like show me a new shot. And I'm like, dang, I didn't know you could do it like that. You know, that's sick. So I just get real fired up about learning new things within the game. Even though I've been playing for like 20 years, like I still learn new things almost every day. But now it's like not necessarily something that could help my game, but perhaps it's something that could help somebody else's game, or perhaps I have a golfer in mind that I'm helping, and I see something or reflecting, and I'm like, maybe I could try this way, which again doesn't really help my game, but being able to help somebody else's game is still really cool, and it kind of like still continue to expand my learning within golf, which I don't know, yeah, I get real fired up about that.
That's awesome. And I just love that you specifically mentioned community, because as I've done this and as I've met other people, people that either have podcasts or other brands, or even, what I've done and what I want to do with like this interview series is it's about the community. It's about the people. It's really like, golf. I don't think it's a game that's meant to be like alone. Like a lot of it is, it's you versus you out there. It's your ball, unless I guess you're playing team events or, scrambles or something of that nature. Usually it's yourself, but like it is about playing with people, and I think it's the experience and building that community. So I really love that you had mentioned that.
And then also with that, I guess the last couple of years of playing full time, looking back, I was really missing those two things, and I wasn't really as happy maybe as I am. I'm definitely happy now. But while I was going through the playing thing, looking back, I was definitely not as happy because I felt like I was lacking those. I wasn't really learning, just spinning my wheels out there, and definitely not having that community aspect at all. That's like the opposite. Yeah.
Very cool. And so we actually met at the RDU Open, which here it was held at the Crossings Golf Club in Durham. And you were there doing a Beta Pro on the tee box, and you were raising money for the LPGA USGA girls golf. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So we started a girls golf site here at Finley last fall. Also, shout out to Craig for RDU Golf. Let's go, Craig. And we've done 2 Game Changer events so far. And the Game Changer events are kind of like big and fun. Everybody can come. You don't have to have equipment. Doesn't matter what you wear. So we had about 39 girls first event, and then 49, or maybe even more, close to 50, about 50 girls the second event. We now have about 100 girls in the site in general, which is really cool. So the goal of it is trying to get as many girls into the game as possible, and kind of having that first experience being surrounded by other girls your age and maybe even a little bit older, that especially at a place like this where we get some of the girls like Riley that you may or may not just have met. She's great. They will come help out with those clinics, and it's really, really cool to be able to see older girls, right? And being able to see what's possible within the game. And you're just getting started. This is your first experience with golf, and you get to play and meet a collegiate player, at a high level. Like, that's pretty cool, in my opinion, and very motivating. But whether they pick up the game now or perhaps later in life, as a young adult, as a woman, maybe you get invited for an outing, and having that one experience as a child could make the difference of like, you know what, I'm going to give it a go again because that was actually pretty fun, versus like, nah, golf is not for me. So that's the whole goal with that, hopefully growing girls golf, but also perhaps women's golf in the next, decade or so.
Got it. And what's your kind of advice for the next generation of women's golfers?
Well, they're getting a lot better. You gotta be good. You gotta practice a lot. Like, if you want to get to the top, you gotta practice a lot. It's something I think about, because girls that I help, especially the younger ones, I don't know if it's a safety thing, or I don't know with parenting, like what's going on right now. But my parents used to drop me off at the golf course when I was 12 and see you later, I'll pick you up at 9, and I'm just practicing all day with my friends, right? Or other adults, I don't know, with the cart guys, I don't know, but they don't do that. So I don't know how they're going to improve when that's not happening. So not really sure, but you got to practice a lot. I think there's a difference expectation level there in how much you actually got to put in. But it's fun. Yeah, try to find a few friends that you can play with and play a lot. Like, that's really what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny that you don't see kids get dropped off and just left alone for hours anymore. It's like it kind of has to be almost an organized thing. So it is cool to hear about what you're doing with girls golf.
Yeah, hopefully we can, build up little squads as we build the program, and maybe they do feel comfortable leaving them at least with their little squad, even outside the designated hours. They can come early and stay late, or perhaps play 9 holes after the session or something like that. So, but we'll see what happens. Baby steps. Yeah.
And then it looked like you're also doing something like a kids golf tour.
Yeah, U.S. Kids Golf. I run the Raleigh tour now. Taken over from Brock, who did a great job. He moved on to a job in Greensboro, so a little further away now. But yeah, our first season, so I'm still learning the ropes on running a tour, which is interesting. Never had to print scorecards or anything like that, but yeah, doing that. Also the rules of it, like I'm pretty much the whole thing for the tour, but it's fun. It's really I played on a kids tour growing up in Belgium. It was called the Scapa Tour, and I really enjoyed that. And it's still going today. And I don't know, I just think that's really cool to be able to do that here now. Like, yeah, they're really cute. Yeah, especially the little ones. I mean, you got like a 5-year-old trying to play 9 holes. Yeah. Shooting 50, whatever. Okay, good job, bud.
That's awesome. And so is it just like you have like tee box, you just like put markers out in like the middle of the fairway?
Oh yeah, we have like 7 sets of tee markers.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's the most job. Just setting the tee markers takes like at least 2 hours because there's so many of them, and you have to plan it out. But yeah, so the furthest one up could be, par 4 is maybe 100 yards or so. But those are, for the 6-year-olds. Well, boys and girls is different, but the little ones. But then all the way to, you could play when you're 18 as well, and that's where it cuts off. And that would be around 6,500. So that's like normal length, And then what's really cool about the U.S. Kids Tour, I've noticed that about 10% of the registrations are girls. So hopefully with the girls golf program here, hopefully I can get them more into playing on the U.S. Kids Tour as well, and hopefully see that number go up. So that was kind of a nice little number I realized was happening, and hopefully we can bridge the gap there as well. Yeah.
Very cool.
How long have you been playing?
I have been playing, when I was a kid, me and my dad would play like par 3s and stuff like that. That was really my only experience. Like,
Okay.
I was talking about my roommate from college. We were talking recently. Like, I didn't play a full 18-hole like regulation course until I was like in college.
Oh, wow.
Like I had played and like swung a golf club before, like, but I really didn't pick it up till college. And even in college, like it was very sparingly. I played on the lacrosse team at Pfeiffer University.
Nice.
So I stayed busy with lacrosse. So, golf was
awesome.
just randomly a weekend, out of the season or something, we'd go play.
Right.
But it was really after I graduated 2018, 2019, I moved down to Florida. Florida's got a boatload of courses. I was down in the Tampa area. So I just started, I wasn't playing lacrosse anymore. I wanted to do something semi-competitive or something to keep those, competitive juices going. So I started playing golf. And then that was the year that Tiger won the Masters. And I remember like I had the TV set up in the living room, like watched all 4 rounds. Like I remember that Sunday round watching the full thing. And that was like what hooked me. And then you had COVID happens, and like the only thing you could do was like I could go outside. I could go to golf courses. So like got a membership at a range, would go to the range a bunch. So I was playing my best golf probably was during COVID because I was playing the most and actually trying to improve.
You got a good coach?
No, I have never been coached. I just watch YouTube videos.
You've never had a lesson?
No.
Oh my gosh.
No. I'm just self-taught. Try to watch things on YouTube to figure something out. And just rely on being semi-athletic enough to move.
All the information is out there for sure, or most of it, not everything, I would say. But what's really hard for the do-it-yourself golfer, I call it, is knowing what applies to you, right? It's like you see all these drills and videos, but how do you know if this is for me? You know, maybe I'm practicing a drill that really isn't for me and I'm making it worse. So that's a lot of folks that I see that they've been doing it yourself golfers and it's just not working, and then they come see me. But yeah, a lot of info is out there, but being able to filter it. So I feel like as a coach, sometimes you're also a filter.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. You can be taught all sorts of different things. The only thing at this point is now, because I've started the brand, I almost exclusively, I don't ever practice. I go out, I play, I take pictures and do my videos and do content related things. But I personally haven't tried to improve in a long time. So my golf game is very up and down.
As long as you enjoy it,
yes.
you know, that's priority number one.
So we'll get into it. We're sitting here at Finley Golf Club. So this is my first time here. Can you talk to me about the course? What should somebody that's never been here, what should they know?
Yeah, so first of all, you're going to check in the pro shop, and then the balls are on the range. So it used to be that there was a ball machine with coins. Okay, got rid of that. The balls are on the range now, just like a private club feel. Okay, so we've kind of elevated the experience here. And then we switched to nines for people that have been here before. We switched to nines. So we used to start on hole number 10, which used to be hole number 1. But now you're going to go across the street, which used to be hole 12. So now that's hole number 1, starting on a par 3. Okay, I know some people don't like that, but once you get over that, it's actually fine. Okay. The reason why they did that is because 10 and 11 they took out, and now it's all team practice facility, which is fantastic. Very, very good, and very good for the teams, good for university. But the downside is you're starting on a par 3, so that's the only thing. But the greens are much, much better, way undulated, much more challenging than before. Before we had bent greens, you know, with the fans alongside of the greens. But now we got Bermuda. It's rolling really good. And we've got our brand new putting green here, the Heel. 18-hole putting course, open all times unless it's freezing. But yeah, this used to be maybe a 10th of the size, this putting green. So they drew it all the way out. This was all rough. Like, this was just grass. Nobody ever came here. The fact that we're sitting here, I'm impressed. So, yeah. But yeah, the front nine is really cool. Hole number, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Hole number 5 is a scenic one. You're gonna like taking pictures on that one. Number 6, they had to squeeze in another par 3, so you'll kind of see that. And then, yeah, the rest is pretty much the same. Yeah, so they had to squeeze in 2 holes on this side because this used to be only 7 holes, so they had to add 2 more to make up for the space over there. So yeah, but hole number 5 is a scenic one. So make sure you take pictures there. Hopefully the sun comes out by then.
Yeah, we need the sun to come out.
And then the back 9, which used to be the front 9, is pretty much the same. Okay, so that's pretty much the same. Just the greens are brand new and different, but the layout is exactly the same that it used to be. So old hole 9 is now hole 18, which is much better because you finish back at the clubhouse, and that one's pretty too with the little water feature. So yeah,
very cool. And what's your personal record out here? I guess before and after renovation.
Oh man, I don't know. That's a great question. I play a lot of games out here. I don't necessarily play straight up stroke play in a while, but I should. Yeah, I really should. I actually want to have a record for each tee, so I'm gonna start playing more this year. But last year I played a lot of other places, just tournaments. I haven't really played here as much, but that's a New Year's resolution for me to play out here a lot more. Not today though, but yeah, I will play out here a lot more. But I guess before the renovation, I think my lowest was probably like 65. Yeah. Yeah, sometime in qualifying. Yeah.
Nice. And what is your favorite on-course game?
Favorite on-course game? Either a good Nassau, nice and simple, or I like to play a lot of skins. But you got to pay right away. So it doesn't really matter how many holes you play. Like if it's bad weather, if you play 12 holes, it doesn't matter. And then if you get birdie, it's double. So let's say if you play $5 skins, and you make a birdie, I make a par, I actually have to pay you 10 because you made a birdie. So I give you $10 after the hole right away by the next tee. Yeah, so you have money.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's the game side of golf is one that I'm still making my way into. I feel like the
Okay.
progression of like golf, at least for a lot of people, at least my friend group, has been like you start out like we try to get into golf and we just start playing scrambles.
Scramble.
So then you just everything's a scramble just for the sake of like pace of play and like you're all bad. And now it's turned into like, oh, I want to play my own ball more. And now it's turned into like, let's play some games. Let's get like competitive with it. So I'm just inching into that space.
I would say start with a Nassau. Maybe a Stableford Nassau. I don't know. It depends on how much you shoot, but I would start with a Nassau. Yeah. I don't like to play with. I don't like to give out strokes. I don't like to give out candy. But like that's the nice thing about being a woman. If I play with guys, I'll just play the same tee. Like it kind of makes up for it. So I can play with a guy that's maybe a 5 handicap, but we play the same tees and it kind of works out. You know, so yeah. I would start with a Nassau. Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh, okay. So Nassau. So you basically play the front 9 as a little match. So let's say we play a $5 Nassau. So the front 9 that would be $5. So let's say you shoot. I don't know. What would you shoot normally?
Oh, for 9 holes, I could be anywhere between 42 and
Okay,
50.
so let's say you have 42 and I got 45. Okay, so you win the $5 for the Nassau. And then we play the back 9, and let's say I got the 42 and you got 45. Let's say you got 44. I got 42 and you got 44 on the back. I would win the $5 on the back 9, but you would win the $5 of the 18 overall. So you would still walk away with 5. So you got 3 games, front 9, back 9, and overall.
Okay, nice.
And then you can do a press. So if you're, I don't know, you can do the Nassau differently. So that would be like Nassau stroke play. But if you want to do a match play Nassau, so that if you do a match play on the front, well, let's say you're 4 up, right? So that's a wash, right? You start on 10 back to 0 versus like dragging on. So you do like 2 mini games, but then you also have a game overall. That's basically the premise of the Nassau, but you can make it however you want to make it. But let's say you can also do an automatic press. So if you're 2 up, okay, you win $5, but it starts over within the mini game, within the 9 holes. So let's say you're 2 up after 4, it's automatic press. All right, you got already $5 in your pocket, but now we're starting back all square on number 5 with a new game till hole 9.
Okay.
So that's pressing. And you can do automatic press or an optional press.
Got it. I played a game recently with some friends. I think it was called Higher Lower or something. And it was essentially like a best ball, but like you take the 2 higher scores, go against each other, and then the 2 lower scores.
Oh, yeah.
And you get 1 point for, essentially each.
Yeah.
And that was like, I liked playing that because that was a way of like, even if you're the lower score, like you're trying to.
You still got to pay attention.
Yeah, you're trying to keep your worst scores still not as bad.
That's
so
right.
I liked that kind of game.
Okay.
But I also want to ask you, what about, so to stay with the brand of, Palmetto and Pine, highlight the Carolinas, do you have any other favorite Carolina golf courses?
Ooh, anything down in Pinehurst? Probably Pine Needles, Mid Pines. I love going down there. And they're so nice. With all the women's golf history, they're just always so supportive. And yeah, just the history there as well with Ms. Bell, and their family. Donna Andrews is down there as well, so I love going down to Pine Needles, Mid Pines. But yeah, anything in Pinehurst, I would say is really nice. I like going to the coast as well. Let's see. If you ever get to play Old Chatham down the road here, you got to do that. Yeah, I've been fortunate to be able to practice there for numerous of years while I was playing full time. So that's also close to my heart, I guess, of course. Raleigh Country Club is very nice as well, also challenging. Trying to think of other courses around here that would be really, really good. I guess a little secret gem, I don't know if you know of it, Pine Hollow. Have you heard of that one?
I've had some people been mentioning that to me.
Yeah, so it's economically very good. It's a good deal, and the greens are usually in good shape. it's not the longest of courses, but I feel like you would enjoy that. A lot of young guys will go and play there that are also pretty good at golf, but they're kind of rolling on a budget. So that's where they kind of end up hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good to know. All right, I think that wraps it up. That's everything I've got. This is Leslie Cloots. She is the Director of Instruction at Finley Golf Club, a professional golfer. Leslie, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, and best of luck with the brand, and best of luck to the audience.
Yeah.
Reach out anytime.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll make sure I plug any of your social media stuff, and
Thanks.
I'll plug your website. Come see Leslie, get a lesson, get better at
Schedule a
golf.
call.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.